Move to this story. J.K. Rowling has joined a growing chorus criticising British Transport Police for letting trans officers strip search women. The Harry Potter author's attack comes as the Supreme Court considers what is the legal definition of a woman in a landmark case which has been brought forward by Scottish campaigners. Let's speak with Cathy Larkman, a retired police superintendent and national policing lead for the Women's Rights Network. Cathy, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ian. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Nice to have you with us. Weird old world, isn't it? We have to go to court to work out what a woman is.
It's absolutely absurd. You know, we all know what a woman is. You know, why are we in 2024 having to go to court to make that fact clear in law? The fact is we all know what a woman is, and we are truly in an upside down world at the moment.
Yeah, we are. It's a kind of night is day, black is white, up is down. It's a kind of just a weird sort of place. If you were having this conversation, imagine sitting in a pub in the 1970s telling somebody that this is a debate. They'd have thought you were crackers. But here we are having this very discussion. Some say, well, look, this court case is a good thing if it comes out with the right answer.
Well, yeah, and that will be interesting to see how that develops. And I absolutely commend for Women Scotland for bringing this case before the Supreme Court. We'll have to see how that case develops, of course, but, you know, there are various pieces of legislation that haven't exactly helped women over the years as well, and they'll have a thorough airing, I'm sure, in the Supreme Court hearing.
In terms of the specific issue on policing, BTP, British Transport Police, saying that it's kind of OK if trans officers strip search women. As a former senior police officer, what do you feel about that, Cathy?
I think it's offensive. I think it's absolutely inhumane that police chiefs should decide to do this. I policed for over 31 years. Most of my service was operational on the front line or supervising operational officers. I have carried out many, many searches and supervised many, many more. And a lot of them were strip searches as well.
Yeah.
Women being strip searched are placed in a situation where there is an extraordinary imbalance of power. They may feel very frightened. They will certainly feel extraordinarily vulnerable. Added to the fact that some of those women may be victims already of sexual trauma.
Sure.
You may have women from religious and cultural groups where there is an absolute prohibition on being undressed around a man.
Yeah.
And you may have, you know, young girls in their teens as well being undressed, just to name a few groups. The Police and Criminal Evidence Act, known as PACE, which governs the, how searches are carried out, and particularly strip searches as well in England and Wales, is very, very clear that these should be carried out by an officer of the same sex. Yeah. We have this absolutely bizarre situation now where British Transport Police have decided that woman being required to, you know, expose the intimate parts of her body, potentially to have to bend over to expose her genital area as well, may be presented with an obviously male officer, or whether he's obviously male or not is inconsequential really, but a male officer who is carrying out that strip search upon her. I think police chiefs, police leaders have absolutely lost their minds. British Transport Police are not the only force in this situation, I have to add, Ian. The Women's Rights Network wrote about this issue across police forces in a report that was issued in January of this year called State-Sanctioned Sexual Assault. And we highlighted that most forces then had taken on board guidance from the National Police Chiefs Council, so that's the body representing chief constables, to deciding to allow this to happen. It's extraordinary, it's offensive, and it's deeply, deeply wrong.
It's what I find really fascinating about this, Cathy, and it's the same with all of these kind of stories, is that I would guess nobody asked for this. I'm also would even float the idea that even a trans officer, and I doubt there are very many, but there will be some, I doubt even they have asked for it. It sounds like one of those things where sort of seniors sit around a table and for some reason say we better have a policy on this, even though there's been no particular issue up until now, and almost deciding this way, they've created an issue that wasn't there before.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, to some degree, you're right there, but this has been going on for many years within policing, behind the scenes with police leaders. This isn't necessarily a brand new issue. This has been chipped away for many, many years. The Women's Rights Network exposed the decision taken by national police chiefs in December 2021. And we then explored, over, the next year or two, how many of them had actually implemented it. And most of them had. We exposed that again in January 2024, and the policy was withdrawn. It's currently being reviewed. But clearly, British Transport Police here have jumped the gun and come out with their own policy. And as well as the impact on female members of the public, who police officers are meant to serve, I have to say as well. We are public servants, and that is meant to be at the very core of policing.
Yeah.
But it also places the police women in a dreadful situation as well, because they are operating in a culture of fear, not being able to speak out in relation to this as well. So I personally welcome the action taken by Sex Matters in sending a letter before claim to British Transport Police. That sets in motion, obviously, a certain process,
Sure.
and potentially this could end up at judicial review. And I think it's high time that it did.
I mean, it shouldn't take a judicial review, should it? A biological male should not be strip searching a female. That's it.
No, it absolutely shouldn't. And when you look at the original decision of the NPCC, the rationale for that, as well as it being riven throughout with, the language of gender ideology, indicating that the police service, has bought up wholesale to this way of thinking. As well as that, the rationale was that it would attract more transgender individuals to the police service. So, I'd invite us all to think about that.
What was the desire for that either?
Well, it sort of says, doesn't it, Ian, really, that the prospect of seeing a naked woman is being dangled as a carrot for a reason to join the police service.
Well, yeah, I mean, if somebody happens to be trans and they join the police service, so what? But the idea that you would actively say, we need more trans, I don't know why you would sort of to go out of your way to try and recruit more people who are trans. I mean, that is strange. And as you rightly say there, I mean, that's extraordinary, Cathy, that, yes, I mean, and you'll even be able, not only will you be on the beat, helping your community, you'll even be able to strip search females. I mean, wow.
I know, it really beggars belief that that's happening. But women have human rights too. That seems to be forgotten in all of these decisions that are being made. It seems to have been forgotten in the, what's happening in terms of the Supreme Court discussions at the moment. We're even seeing, a person who has failed a sex eligibility test, winning BBC Women's Footballer of the Year today as well. It's quite extraordinary what's happening at current times. And I think we have to view this in the context of everything else that is happening. It is an attack on women's rights.
There it is, Cathy, thank you. Interesting times, Cathy Larkman.